I guess we should have discussed on who was going to start the fucking thing.
I thought you said you're starting.
I didn't say that.
I'm starting.
Oh, I meant start the recording to get us going.
Let's go. It's time. Put on play pants.
All right, and away we go. Episode number 76 of the Play Pants podcast. I feel a quitting coming on tonight. I just feel it in the air. I feel it quitting. Coming on a couple of times
Forever,
tonight. Dude. No, that's his last episode. So episode number 76, we are available on YouTube. If you are listening to this, you could watch it on our YouTube channel. Follow our social media pages at PlayPantsPod. The podcast is brought to you by Pirates of the Quarter Tours in New Orleans, Louisiana. They got a great tour. You're heading over for Mardi Gras. Make sure you punch them up, take the tour, learn some things. We'll talk more about that later on today. A lot to cover today, Rod. I think the list that you sent over is something that we've been dancing this dance for a while. This top 5 John Hughes movies. It's something that's come up a bunch of times, and we keep just kind of going, nah, don't want to.
Like, we'll get to it. We'll get to it, right?
Someday.
Really did.
Yeah, well, we're gonna today because it's celebrating John Hughes's birthday this week. So I'm looking forward to getting into that. I think we've seen those movies thousands of times, but in my research, and we'll talk about it more when we get to the top 5 John Hughes movies. Thanks to Josh Tree for sending in this suggestion for the last 6 months.
He has been on our ass about doing this list forever. And I'm like you. I kind of thought that maybe we already did it. And then I had to go back to Jordan Welch in the machine. He put together all of our top 5s. And I went back and looked at 75 of them. Yeah. And no, one of the podcasts we didn't do a top 5.
Yeah, we blew it off for some reason. I think we just went.
Know what happened. There was just so much awesome shit to talk about that we didn't even have time for a top 5.
No, I doubt that.
But thank you, Jordan Welch. He's kind of like the curator of all of our top 5. So I went back and looked. So we don't want to do we haven't been around long enough for a repeat yet.
No.
But going through the list of what Jordan had put together, we've done some badass top 5s on this show. Yeah. We've done some really good ones. I mean, there's very few that there's none that I'm. Okay, so we don't really know anything about wrestling, and we did a top 5 wrestler list, but it was wrestlers that we liked when we were little kids. So yeah. I didn't even mind that one. That may have been like one of our weakest ones, only because I know we have people that listen to this thing that like know everything about wrestling. But for the most part, man, I was pretty happy with our top 5s over the course of 75. Now this is episode 76. That's a good one.
I've thought a couple of different times about like actually going back to some of our earlier ones because we've progressed. We went from totally shitty podcasters to less than shitty podcasters over the last couple of years, and it would be kind of cool to revisit and see where our new top 5s would be on some of those things. Maybe that's something we'll visit down the road. Also, Mike Shinoda of Lincoln Park celebrating a birthday this week when this is released. And tell you what, man, big Lincoln Park news. We're going to get a new song this week. And by the time you hear this, maybe it's already out. I've heard the song. Have you heard the new song let me start again. It's not a new song. It's a song that was recorded back during the Meteora sessions 20 years ago. The song is called Lost. And I heard it. It's at the peak of their powers during that album. This was a throwaway. This song was a throwaway, and it could have been another song on the album. It's really good.
I've heard what the rest of the world has heard, the 18 seconds that they put up on Instagram. My program director, because I know you're like a cool program director and all, you probably, get this stuff early. Radio Wizard said that it's really good. He said that he really, really likes it. We align pretty well on our taste in music. Is there a reason that it wasn't on Meteora when you listen to it? Like, okay, yeah, it's good. It's 20 years later. I'm excited to hear Chester's voice again, but I see why they left it off the album.
Yeah, exactly.
Does it have that feel, or does it, wow, they fucked up not putting this on the album. This is awesome. What am I going to hear on Friday?
You're going to like it. You're going to like the song, but that album was loaded with a bunch of great songs. So it just didn't make the cut. It is a very good song. And then knowing what you know about Chester and how it all ended for him, you listen to the lyrics, and I'm not gonna ruin anything here, but when you listen to the lyrics, you're gonna be like, ooh, ooh. I mean, a lot of Linkin Park songs are hard to listen to now because of the lyrical content. He was basically screaming out about a lot of things. And this song is cool, man. And I'm sure you guys will play the shit out of it when you get it. I know we are gonna beat the shit out of it here in New Orleans. But yeah, I'm excited about it. It sounds fresh still, 20 years later. I mean, Linkin Park was well produced. It just had an edge to it. So I'm looking forward to that as well. And then they're gonna do a special 20th anniversary release repackage. They're gonna throw this song on there. Of Meteora. That'll be in March. Well, now that'll come out. There'll be a lot of fanfare around that.
So Numb, Breaking the Habit, Lying From You,
Jeez.
Faint, Somewhere I Belong.
God.
You look at Hit the Floor. I mean, nobody's listening. People know, like, it's another one of those albums that everybody kind of knows, like, every song.
Right.
And it was that was their second album, and it was just fucking loaded. To be honest with you, I haven't been reading. This is what my comments on the radio today were going back to what is the Nirvana song? You Know You're Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Know You're Right.
You Know You're Right. Yeah, they released.
Remember when we got that song? And we were like, this is an amazing progression of like where Nirvana was headed.
Right.
And it kind of had a real cool, like almost like a Tool intro. It was dark sounding. It kicked in. Kurt's voice sounded great. And we were hoping that we were going to have a ton of this stuff. And then Dave Grohl quickly said, no. Yeah, there's that. But we don't have. Nirvana didn't work that way. We don't have. I mean, there might have been a bunch of notepads that, Kurt had with lyrics and stuff and ideas scribbled down, but there wasn't this vault of all this extra music. That song was so great.
Yeah.
What I'm hoping, and I have not read or heard, I'm waiting because I just want to kind of hear the song, and then I'll kind of dig into it after that. Is there a bunch of this stuff? Most bands, when they record an album, 10 to 12 songs make the album, but you record 16.
Right.
Now, back when in the 90s, in the late 90s and early 2000s, a lot of those songs, those extra songs, they went over to movie soundtracks. And these songs popped up everywhere, and they were awesome. And it was so cool to hear all these extra tracks. Even if they were just throwaways, I was a big fan of movie soundtracks just because they were done so well back then. And that's going to play well into our John Hughes discussion. Everyone knows that Prince has 1 million songs. They say that about Michael Jackson. You'd think they would have released something by now if there was all this greatness. So I'm a little leery about that. And then I flat out asked Wolfgang Van Halen. I'm like, bro, millions of hours of tapes? Yeah. You're in charge? Yeah. He's not going to go through all that stuff. He wants to work on his band. Do you think there's a bunch of Linkin Park shit we haven't heard?
I think there's got to be 7 or 8, maybe 10 good songs sitting around. I would say. I would think so. And this song, you just listed all the great songs on that album. This song isn't any of those. You know what I mean? Like it's right on the cusp. It's great. It's just not those songs. You know what I mean? Like, okay. You see, I at least from one listen. Now, I like the song. It's cool. You're gonna like it when you hear it. It's immediately familiar. There's no like going, well, I don't know. No,
familiar sounding, like that sound, the texture that we're used to, even though it's a brand new song.
Yeah. You'll immediately go, oh yeah, that's fucking Linkin Park. It's great.
And I kind of got that from the 18-second clip. I know that sounds silly, but just hearing Chester's voice, I took emails this morning. They're like, Rod, I'm crying. Like, what? Rod, I'm crying. Yeah. Hearing Chester's voice on something that I've never heard him sing. These are people that love and worship everything that the guy's ever done. And to hear him singing lyrics that you've never heard before, Friday is a big deal. I mean, Friday is a really big deal. I kind of put Linkin Park is a first ballot Rock and Roll Hall of Fame band to me.
Absolutely.
I think they were a part of a new revolution, kind of like the whole grunge thing. They were a part of this new wave of metal, new metal. I get it. But I think they're a first ballot Hall of Fame band.
Well, they changed so much. There was no bands doing what they were doing to the level of what they were doing. They had the rock, they had the rapping, they had all of it. And yeah, I just said rapping. Sorry. God, old band.
But they were the biggest. I don't know. I kind of feel there was a lot of bands doing that.
I mean, you got elements of Faith No More and the Chili Peppers and all that, but Linkin Park just seemed to put the whole combination together in a nice package. They figured it all out, in my opinion. You know?
Well, we're going to play it every hour here in Houston. We're going to play it all morning, every hour. And
absolutely.
I have never, I'm trying to think if I've ever played a song 4 times. You know, I'm 6 to 10. I don't know that I've played a song 4 times, and I want to play it 4 times. Like I want to play it 4 times, once an hour. I want to play it on Friday, and I'm really looking forward to it. I really am.
Well, it's gonna be cool to take calls and find out what people are thinking about it, because that's half the fun too, you know. And then we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna beat the shit out of it every hour. You know, that song is gonna be an instant #1 in 2 weeks. It's just gonna be a monster, you know. And then, so since you said it, you know, I'm kind of a big deal now. I'm a program director in a radio station.
Oh, yeah,
you know?
really
I mean,
big deal.
Kind of a big deal now. So,
okay. I'm sorry, is this mic on?
Wait, are we still talking? Nobody's listening now. I know I fucking turned the whole thing up. So, you know, so I do get to have phone calls now with people, and it's really fucking cool, dude. And I always love to go behind the curtain with what we do, you know, and you know, you know how it is. You've done it for years, talking to record labels, and those record label dudes, you got to love them, but they're salesmen. They are fucking salesmen. They're going to tell you every song that ever came out of their label is a fucking smash, right? That's what we deal with every day. And, you know,
of course,
they're not. So I can't go and say a whole lot, and I don't know what you've heard, but hearing some rumblings around the Foo Fighters, hearing some things.
I am not hearing some things. And
hearing some things.
Well, is it
no drummer?
Okay, I was going to say, does it involve local information as far as them playing live, or is it new drummer information?
It is unfortunately neither one of those. The conversation I had, and I don't want to go say too much because, like, you know, I talked to the dude, not that this is ever going to fucking get out, but you never know. And basically the label was having meetings with management last week, which anytime that happens, it means, well, why the fuck would you talk to a record label? Management of the band talk to the record label unless there was music going to be involved in the near future.
New album.
Possibly a new album. Could be like maybe they'll put out the live thing of one of the tribute shows.
Listen, we're okay. You know. We're taking down Joe Rogan's podcast. Okay, we are announcing new Foo Fighter music. Give me the date, Jason. Go. Just do it. We're
March.
Taking down Rogan.
Yeah. Okay. March. I'm going to talk about how I skinned an elk last night. Okay, with my fucking butter knife. Yep. So anyway, yeah, I think we'll be getting some more info out of that. They keep just announcing these weird one-off festivals. It's just festival. There's no proper tour been announced, which is weird too. And the Foo Fighters don't usually tour without some sort of new material to play. So
in any of your, hey, I'm a big fucking program director. Would you even think to ask, hey man, who's playing drums on these shows?
One of the most interesting things I've learned in the last year is that the Foo Fighters management team is probably the most buttoned up, tightest unit, because they've been together for like 25 years. The same management team has been with the Foo Fighters all this time, and they don't fucking squeak about anything. Anytime you hear a rumor, it was either purposely released or it's just horseshit. Like, they are so fucking tight. So that's why you've not heard shit about a drummer. They don't say anything. They just, when they're ready, they go, okay, here's what we're doing. And then they explode onto the scene. So it'll be fun to watch. I think we'll get some stuff probably the next few weeks. We'll at least get some information. And then I'm here in March. So we'll see what happens. Whatever they do, I'll be excited about it. You know what I mean? It'll be great. So, Rod, I was Yeah,
I
go
wonder
ahead.
if Mike Shinoda is going to be doing interviews. I'll tell you what, Mike is a very media friendly guy. Boy, he came on shortly after Chester passed away because if you remember, he went right in the studio. He put out a solo album, and that's, he talked about how everybody mourns differently, and he wanted to go right to work. But boy, he is one of the greatest guys to talk to. And there's never any rules. There's never any, here's a list of shit you can't talk about. Mike Shinoda is such a badass dude. I hope he does some sort of a radio tour or, I hope he makes himself available because, man, he'll talk. I mean, you can ask him, dude, is this it? Or do you have 50 songs laying around? He'll go, no, we have 12, or whatever. Right. He will give you that stuff. So I hope he comes around and talks about this stuff. Like you said, there's going to be anniversaries and box set. And then you really do have to look at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that they're going to be in the discussion in the next couple of years.
Yeah. Cause when they were 2099, I believe is when they first hit your first album is the 25 years from your first album, I think is the rule.
Yes.
So they do have a couple more years, but they got to be first ballot. They have to be. How can you not? I mean, what they've done, God, yeah. I just can't wait for everybody to hear the song and get people's thoughts on the Linkin Park song when it comes out this week. So it'll be interesting to hear the feedback. I think, being a fly on a wall in your studio, listening to the phone calls come in, is going to be cool.
Yeah. Hybrid Theory, October 24th, 2000. So a couple years. 2
more years, basically. So yeah, they go in. Yeah.
Okay.
So Rod, the other day, my wife, Friday, Sundays, a lot of meal prep going on in the crib here at the Ginty house. And the wife gets out, she makes like little egg things. She puts them in the how you make muffins, right? The old pans with all little circles in it. She'll make little egg McMuffins for the week. That way she just goes in, eats them. She works from home. All good. I
would call those a quiche.
Okay, sure. Maybe not that fancy around here at the Ginties, but a quiche sounds nice. We're not fucking French. Anyway, so she makes those on Sundays. And then she gets out kale salad, right? Or the kale leaves. And she gets some fresh, the Whole Foods thing. She's got to eat right. And then she washes all the leaves because she buys it like not in a bag, washes them and then separates it. She knows exactly how much she wants to eat each day of the week. So she separates it, washes it. Meal prep.
Very disciplined. I like this.
Very, very disciplined. Okay.
And I'll say this just because I've been hanging out with Tessa, my co-host, way too much. But I do know this about your wife. She's a Virgo. And I think those are very Virgo traits, what she's doing.
Motherfucking Virgo.
I'm just saying, well, she's born on my birthday. So come on.
Wow. That's one way of putting it. I think if you asked her, she would say that you were born on.
No, I'm older. She was born on my birthday.
Right. So anyway, so she's doing meal prep, right? And then she goes, what the fuck is this? And I go, what? She goes, and she's like got her salad all over paper towels and all washed off and shit. She goes, what the fuck is this? And I'm like, what? She goes, is that a worm? Mm-hmm. I go, And I don't want to go over there and have the answer be yes. Like I as I approach her to inspect this potential worm, I'm like, I don't want this to be a yes, because then that's just going to throw a fucking curveball at her that we're not going to be really ready to handle in our house. You know what I mean? That'll be the end of kale, and that's not good. So I look, and I'm digging around. She goes, right there. And I look at it, and sure as shit, man, it's a little fucking green worm. It's the same color as the salad. It's dead, because it's been in the refrigerator. It's not moving. I pick it up, throw it in the garbage.
Yep.
And I kind of just do the old, it's like if your kid falls down, what do you got 2 options: run over and go, oh my God, are you okay? You're dying. Holy shit. Let me check you out. Or you got to go, hey, you all right?
Like it's not a big deal.
You all right? You good? And I just threw it in the garbage and said, okay. I said, I would rinse it again, and she carries on. I'm like, oh, wow. I did not expect that to happen. So all good. Okay. And then of course, cause I can't fucking leave anything alone. I go, that's pretty crazy. I go, but you've probably eaten like hundreds of those things.
Just let it go, dude.
I know.
Why? How'd you do that?
No, I'm an idiot.
That was a bitch move.
It was dumb. But I started thinking about it. I'm like, God damn it. That's a lot. That's a big worm. And you don't see it. I'm like, shit, I'd probably eat 100 of those fucking little worms. So then it got me to thinking. I go, okay. And she was fine. She's like, shut up, asshole. I don't want to think about it. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I left because I knew I would say more dumb shit. So it got me to thinking. I'm like, well, wait a minute. If that's in her salad and she just happened to know this one, how many times did she never rinse the salad? How many times have we just bought out of the bag, dumped it in a bowl, threw some dressing on it, and ate it? Right? Those little worms are in there. Pretty sure they've been in there for years. Yeah. So what do? I go to the internet and I figure out how many bugs and worms are we eating in a year. Roddy, I have answers. I don't think you want to know.
But okay, so for years people would say, well, you swallow 9 spiders a year. Like that turned out to be bullshit, right?
No, that's bullshit because spiders don't want to die and they're not going to crawl in your fucking mouth. It's warm, right. It's wet. They know, don't go in there. They know. So that's bullshit. Yeah.
I think that was something that we heard when we were little kids, and then it went on and on. It was pre-internet. And then you probably had some drunk uncle that backed it up. Oh, yeah, well, I heard it's 12. Thanks, Uncle Stan. But it's bullshit. So
yeah, that part is bullshit.
You're going to tell me how many bugs I've eaten?
I'm going to break it down for you. So it's going to make you sick in a couple different ways. Okay. So to get to the answer, you got to kind of backtrack a little bit. So I want you to follow the math here. It's pretty easy because if I did it, it's going to be real easy. Okay.
Okay.
First of all, before you can figure out how many bugs you eat in a year, you got to break down how much food you eat in a year. This is actually the more disturbing part of the whole fucking exercise I did. So you got to start out with this. Okay. Doing some math. So start putting yourself in, just follow along. The average American right now today is 36.6 years old. Okay, if you take everybody, 36.6 years of age. That's the average American today. Men are 5 feet 9 inches tall. That's average, right? That's boom, right in the sweet spot. Women, 5'4". 5'9", 5'4". That's your average height as American today. Men weigh around 190 pounds on average across all Americans. Women, 164 pounds on average, all Americans, okay? Some of us are going, wow, I'm really skinny. And some of us are going, whoa, I'm big. Okay. So according to the USDA, that's the whole food and drug thing, whatever, the United States Department of Agriculture, actually, Americans eat close to 2,000 pounds per year of food. Did you know that? 2,000 pounds in a year. Let me break it down. That's about 29 pounds of French fries in a year. I do love some French fries. 23 pounds of pizza in a year. 53 gallons of soda. Now, before you start going, well, I don't drink soda. I don't eat meat. I don't do this. This is just averages across the whole nut. All right. Now, a certain level of bug parts are legally allowed to be in your food by the Food and Drug Administration. You're allowed to have X number of butterfly wings and shit ground up in your coffee. Okay.
Now this I have heard before because there's rat droppings, there's cockroach legs inside of your tuna fish. That I have heard.
So most of the bugs that you're going to eat are in fruits, vegetables, coffee, nuts, cocoa, flour, processed food as well. That's where most of your most of your bugs were going to be. They're not really in meat or dairy outside of cheese, okay? So of the 2,000 pounds you're going to eat in a year, you add up the non-meat products, and those are the products with the bugs, you're left with around 900 pounds of food in a year. Multiply that by the FDA's maximum allowances for insects in the foods in a year. So you're eating about 500,000 bug fragments in a year, or 0.23 pounds, which is what, almost a quarter pound? Is that right? 0.23?
I mean, 0.25 is a quarter, so okay. Yeah.
So you're eating almost a quarter pound of bug chunks in a year. I'm more disturbed about the fucking 2,000 pounds.
Well, that means you're eating about 5.5 pounds a day.
That seems like a lot.
That does seem like a lot.
Because I'm not eating 5 pounds of food in a day. 360, how many days are in a year?
There'd be 20 quarter pounders. Like a quarter pound. But you figured, you got to weigh the bun and all the other stuff. But still, yeah, I mean, it's 5.5 pounds of food a day.
You think about it, I guess that makes sense. I don't know.
If it's 2,000 pounds on a year.
I'll post the graphic, or I got the info. I'll put it up. I'll make sure I put the graphic up on our socials and everything when we're done here. But yeah. I just was like, holy fuck. You start breaking down what you eat in a year and you start going, oh yeah, I'm getting some French fries today. Over a year's time, it's 20 some odd pounds of French fries in a year.
A friend of mine was eating edamame, which is like the peas in the pod.
Yeah, they're delicious. It's great.
And they went in on one, and there was a bug inside there. They were done for edamame forever. I mean, when you see it, when you absolutely see it, I remember hearing the rat droppings, and I remember hearing, like I said, some of the other things that they're allowed. There was a movie with Greg Kinnear where it was a movie about Fast Food Nation, maybe, or something. It actually, if you want to turn into a Jason, you watch this movie because they show like the cows, them stripping the skin off the cows with chains and stuff. I believe it's called Fast Food Nation. But in the movie, Greg Kinnear has to go, he's like the head guy of McDonald's or whatever. And they were allowed a certain amount of shit in the meat. Ugh. Like there was a certain percentage of cow shit that could be in the meat, and there was too much shit in the meat. So he wanted to go to the packing plant to see what was going on. Well, boy, were his eyes open when he went to a packing plant, and it was just, I don't know how much of it is real, but that was a real eye-opening. It was a very eye-opening movie. And they must have gotten, it's a movie. It's not a documentary. Right. But they must have gotten some facts to gather together to create that movie.
I mean, Rocky's in there fucking punching it. There's going to be some shit involved. I worked in a grocery store years ago, many, many years ago, and we had a meat department, right? And I never worked the meat department, but occasionally you had to go in and clean the meat department at the end of the day. I did that twice, and I almost barfed each time because there's just yuck everywhere. Okay, I mean, it's just awful. And you see the dirty animals, and you start. I've seen some of these documentaries on pigs and how they get slaughtered and cows and stuff. You start watching that shit, you're like, okay, that's it. I got to turn this off because it makes it hard to ever eat meat again. And you realize how much just filth is in everything. And then you're looking at two guys that worked in the restaurant business over the years. You got us handling food, and we were pretty nice about it.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this. One of the things that did happen, I probably cracked somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 million eggs working at the restaurant that I did for 8 years. A big part of that job was breakfast. It was a breakfast, lunch, and dinner cafe type place. And I must have cooked 1 million eggs. And I never saw anything weird. It was always like, hey, sometimes you get a double yolk or something. Yeah. But I remember a girl back there. Her name was Katie. She cracked an egg, put it on the flat top, and she screamed and ran out. And there was like the starting of like a little chicken or something in there. Somehow it didn't get candled or whatever. I don't know how they check these things, but yeah, there was an egg with some development in there, and it was sitting there on the grill, and I had to take care of that. That was disgusting. That was absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, no thanks. No, I've had the double yolks occasionally, and then what's weird is like I'll see the double yolk, and in my mind I know totally okay, but I have a time. I'll eat it, but I used to. I still have a hard time stomaching it down because something about that 2 yolks and one. I'm like, what's wrong with this thing?
It's a Siamese egg.
Where were they joined?
Well, at the yolk.
Oof.
Hey, real quick, that Fast Food Nation, that's Richard Linklater. The guy that made Dazed and Confused.
Same dude.
Yes.
No
Fast
shit.
Food Nation, dude. I'm telling you. I don't know if I'm recommending it, though. Like, you already don't eat meat. So you can watch it and then probably go, ha ha, see, I told you. So maybe that's it. It's definitely an eye opener. I mean, there's some laugh out loud, funny parts about it, but yeah, it gets dark.
Yeah. I just want to bring it up because you know what, man, there's not much you can do about it. The companies do the best they can, but every once in a while you get a little beak in your yolk. You know, you're just stuck with that shit, man. You get a little. It's kind of like chewing back at you. Oof. Did you watch the Grammys Sunday? Any of it?
I watched none of it.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't watch any of it. I knew it was on, and I don't know. I just didn't have any interest in tuning it on. What I did is the next day I went and I watched the entire 50 years of rap tribute, and it was awesome.
Yeah, everybody said that was great.
Really, really good. I mean, I'm sure somebody is butthurt. I don't know who didn't get a phone call, but I mean, you know, LL Cool J and Flavor Flav and Queen Latifah and Busta Rhymes, and you know, it felt like they got a lot of people, you know, Salt and Pepper, Nelly. It was really good. It was really good. And they gave them some time too, man, to honor the 50 years of rap and hip hop. I watched the whole thing on Monday. So I mean, there didn't seem to be a huge takeaway moment other than our boyfriend, Harry Styles, who won the big award, the last award of the night, which is either record of the year or album of the year. Yeah. I think it's album of the year.
Yeah.
Any truth to Adele getting up and walking out pissed off? Did you hear that?
I didn't hear that. I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched the first probably hour, fast forward through all the boring shit. You know what I mean? Like, but I watched Harry's performance and it was okay. It wasn't great.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
I was expecting more. It just felt, I don't know, maybe because of the way the song is and that was the style. I don't know. It was still great because it's Harry, but it wasn't like, oh shit. It didn't like increase my man love for Harry Styles. But I thought that Trevor Noah did a great job. He was kind of wandering through the crowd. He had some great jokes. And I'm like, wow, this thing is moving. They kept it moving pretty good. After you start hearing a few speeches, though, it's like, I'm done. You know what I mean? Like, so I punched out.
I did, because I wanted to, everybody was talking about Madonna. So I did watch Madonna come out. And I don't know. Are you allowed to say somebody's face looks fucking weird anymore or no?
Madonna's face is fucked up, dude. It's
what the fuck,
up.
Man. Madonna used to be like smoking, ripping.
She's a mess.
We talked about it a little bit with Tessa just because, and then she kind of gets mad at me a little bit. And I'm like, man, don't mess with your face. She goes, I do mess with my face. And I said, don't mess with your face.
Don't.
And she takes offense to that. I'm like, listen, you're beautiful as is. I go, don't mess with your face. That's it. Titties, and you want to put fake calves in and ass implants. I don't care. Like, man, don't mess with your face. Because I feel like Madonna got to a point where it's like, oh, damn, I did too much.
Yep.
And I don't even know what that stuff is. I don't know what fillers are. I've heard of it. I don't know what it is. I don't know what, I know what botulism is. Okay, that's what Botox is. It's botulism that's put into and I don't know if you just get so much of it, but Madonna just doesn't look the same, man.
No. And her eyebrow thing, she bleached her eyebrows blonde, and I see that as a trend. I'm like, that's
being
just
a nut.
But it's like, all right, stop it.
The shape of her head is like a fucking Vicks cough drop now. Okay,
yeah,
like
it's all puffy and weird.
It's not normal. But I don't think you're allowed to talk about that.
No, you can, because we are. It's weird how like people will get work done on their face to make it so it doesn't look like their face is fucked up, but you can tell 99% of the time. I always feel like, oh yeah, that person had their lips done, or this person had their thing, or your face is shiny, or you look like Smokey Robinson, who's just like shined up like a bowling ball. He's so pulled back. Of course, he's 100.
But she also didn't command the audience the way that she wanted. And listen, Madonna was the baddest bee on the planet. Okay,
by a mile.
And she was new, and she was a trendsetter, and she was a vanguard, and everything else out there, a maverick. And she went out there, and she should be able to command the performance and command the audience and stuff. And I think twice should say, and that's where you clap. It's like Madonna was just falling a little flat. Go back and watch her. I don't even know what award she was giving away. I kind of felt bad. I kind of felt like, I kind of felt yucky. Hey, that movie's not happening.
What? Oh, her movie.
The Madonna movie's not happening. They were going to use your girl from Ozark.
Yeah, the blonde. Yeah. I don't know what happened there.
for some reason, it's not happening. She's announcing a world tour. I will not go see her. I have seen Madonna. She was 3-4 hours late. Not doing that again. But it's kind of sad that the movie is off, which leads me to believe maybe Madge isn't awesome on set. Because I did hear that the gals that were up for the main part, they were being put through some rigorous, I don't know if they were on like some sort of a, American Ninja Warrior, course or something, but it seemed like Madonna was really putting them to task to really figure out who was going to best portray her on the big screen. And then they did go with Ozark, and I imagine she probably turned down a few gigs. Nope. Locked into the Madonna deal. Boom, boom, boom. And then all of a sudden Madonna's like, yep, I'm just going to go on a world tour and the movie can wait. It's like, yeah, there's always more to it than we know.
And you don't know what, like, producers and her fighting, and she wants this, and they're like, hey, that's not going to be good. And you know what I mean? Like, it feels weird to make a biopic when the person's still alive. You know what I mean? It just feels fucking weird to me. Would I watch it if it came out? Hell yeah. Absolutely. I'd watch it.
Madonna has enough of a career. Madonna has enough of a career that I am about celebrating people while they're here.
Totally. It just feels weird.
Not everybody, that wouldn't work with everybody.
Right.
But do you remember when there were like 3 different Janis Joplin projects working all at the same time?
Yeah, and then nothing.
One of them, and she has completely aged out of it. Sorry, but it's just the truth. But Melissa Etheridge was in talks to play Janis Joplin.
And that was 20 years ago.
Holy balls. That would have been perfect. Like, that would have been perfect. I don't even like Janis Joplin, and I would have gone to see that movie with her. Then there was talks about, man, she's from here in Katy. I can never think of her name. Doesn't matter. She was up for it. There was a couple that they were up for it. And it's like there were 3 or 4 in the works at the same time.
Yeah.
And the Janis Joplin movie, I felt like, even though I don't like her, I felt like there was enough there for a movie.
And do you run out of a window because, Elvis is kind of a different thing because that's transcends generations for some reason. That just keeps going. But like someone like Janis Joplin, I don't feel is going to transcend as many generations like Elvis has. So you're running out of time to do a Janis pick that's going to be successful due to the fact that your boomers are kind of like getting to the point where you're going to lose your audience. If you're going to do it, they got to kind of do it soon. It
would have to be great. You're going to have to get older people to go first that liked her. And then they're going to have to, the buzz on the movie is going to have to be, oh my gosh, you got to see this. Then Janis gets reintroduced to a whole new audience.
Right.
So yeah, you got to kind of luck out with that. There's no guarantee that those movies are great though. I mean, there's, the Madonna movie, you might have sucked. I'll say it right now. The Aretha Franklin movie was not good. Okay.
Really? It
just was not good, man. And you had the greatest singer that we have out there, Jennifer Hudson, playing her. I was giving her the Oscar before, just at the casting, when they said that she was going to star in it. Okay, there's the Oscar that year. Whenever that movie comes out, there's her second Oscar. And that puts her on just a whole nother planet. It just wasn't good, man. It just wasn't that good. I don't know. I mean, it's Aretha Franklin. She's the greatest singer of all time. And then you have this once in a generation person playing her.
Yeah.
Why couldn't you get that right, man? They didn't get it right. There's no guarantee.
Did it just fall flat? Like the writing and everything, like it was just bad, just didn't flow, or because that's the key.
It just was very okay. That's it. It was just okay.
Yeah, it's hard.
Elvis was great.
I liked Elvis.
I'm trying to think of another like biopic movie.
Freddie Mercury. Freddie Mercury was great.
What's one? Okay, I did not like Rocket Man. I did not like it at all. I didn't like. It was the first 5 minutes, and that kid turned to the fucking camera and started singing at me. I'm like, whoa! Nobody. Yeah. What the fuck? Nobody told me this was a musical. Hold up. Yeah. Hold up.
It could have been better.
Going on
without
when you look at the camera and you start singing, I'm like, oh, fucking fame.
I didn't pay for this, Jesus. No. And I wanted to like that. There was aspects I liked. I didn't know this, like the story they were telling about Bernie Taupin and the writing and then Elton John. Like they could have done it without the fucking show tuney bullshit, having the music in there was great. And the way they correlated with, we came up with this idea and then boom, there's the song.
And that guy sang.
And that was great. He was awesome.
Remy Malek lip synced.
Yeah.
This guy, Edgerton, sang.
He was great too. He was great.
There you have it. There's another script that just wasn't great. And it's Elton John. How do you F up Elton John,
Well, he probably doesn't think they did. He loved it, I'm sure. And that's part of the problem too with these biopics is you're not only, it's hard to get a movie across the finish line. To get a movie that shows up on a screen somewhere is absolutely impossible. But when you've got a biopic and you've got to deal with families and you've got to deal with like sensitive things that happen in a rock star's life, like how far are you willing to go with it? Because there's certain elements that you want to tell those stories, the drug addiction, all the bullshit. Maybe they don't want to. Well, that sucks out the cool out of your story. So how do you, so you're dealing with even a lot more moving parts with a biopic, especially if you're alive. So, speaking of movies, Ron, I think this top 5 is pretty cool. I think this is pretty good. The John Hughes birthday. I was looking through the movies and I'm kind of mad that I haven't seen some of his great movies in a long time. So there's a few I want to go back and watch now that I've looked at this list. And I'll be curious to see what your number 1 is.
He was the GOAT. I mean, John Hughes was the absolute GOAT of 80s movies.
Right.
He died young, his wheelhouse. I'm looking here. I mean, his wheelhouse was maybe 83 to 89. He was the top guy. That's a short window. Okay. That's like a Beatles window of shortness. Beatles were only around that short period of time. John Hughes, he only directed 8 movies. Now, he wrote a ton of movies. He was involved in a ton of movies, but he only directed 8. So that's almost, 1.5 a year for the time that he did it. It's crazy that we don't have a million John Hughes movies. And I wish we did.
But what he put out was absolutely one after the next of great
bangers.
Just
one after another.
Home runs. It's like, that's impossible. Nobody does that. Usually you're going to have a bomber in there. It doesn't work, for whatever reason. So, he, and then the way he, used the music in the movies. I mean, we've talked about that before. His use of songs to enhance the story, to move it along, to add impact to the scene. Brilliant. One of the best.
So as I'm getting ready for this, I remembered, oh shit, there was a John Hughes box set that came out. And there's a lot of songs that there was, I'm trying to think, what movie was there not a soundtrack for? There was a couple of things that the soundtrack never came out. And there's a John Hughes movie box set of all the big stuff that he used. And I just ordered it, getting ready for here.
Dude, this podcast is costing you money now.
Yeah, it is. It'll be here on Saturday, though. So John Hughes night at my house.
Wow. Don't you forget about rock.
All right. Let's take a short break and we will come back and we will talk about the greatness that is John Hughes. Listen, we've got 13 days at the time of recording, 13 days until Mardi Gras. Don't worry. The city's going to still party after Mardi Gras. We talk about visiting New Orleans, and when you go, book that pirate tour, okay? It's a French Quarter walking tour like no other out there. Discover real pirate history that was responsible for the foundation of New Orleans some 300 years ago, right? I mean, the city just celebrated 300 years a couple years back. Book your tour, piratesofthequarter.com. Those of you that have already taken the tour have taken it. If you didn't get your pirate merchandise because there wasn't any at the time, well, they've got their S together now. So check out the shop page, piratesofthequarter.com. Kick-ass t-shirts on sale right now. Everything is at piratesofthequarter.com. All the socials at Pirates of the Quarter. running tours through Mardi Gras. It's got to get a little crazy down there. I mean, what do you say about select dates and things like that?
Yeah, you got to go to the website and definitely look at the dates because we do have some blocked off for that weekend because it's impossible. It's not worth the effort. It's too hard. There's too many people. So we shut down that Saturday, Sunday, Fat Tuesday, just because it's just, you're not going to want to take a tour anyway. You're going to go get blasted out of your skull and booze and look at titties. So yeah, we don't even try anymore. You know, we did some tours last weekend. We had some walking parades through the French Quarter, and that got to be a little bit of a challenge, you know, so because there were so many people down there. But you know, you manage, you get it done. It's fun. But like I always tell people, man, thanks for taking the tour, but you know, we got fuckloads of parades right now, so you might want to go do that as soon as we're done. And they're like, what? I didn't know about a parade. People come to New Orleans and they think that Mardi Gras is just Fat Tuesday. There's so much shit. We've talked about this a bunch of times. There's shit leading up to it. Like this Friday, there's parades. This Saturday, there's a shit ton of parades. This Sunday, there's a shit ton of parades. And then it starts all over again next Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And then I sleep for a week, hopefully. So, because it's just one after the next. And then, of course, on Saturday, the crew of Tuck's going to roll down St. Charles Avenue. And your boys, the podcast will be on the pirate ship, float number 16, by the way. In the crew of Tuck's parade. If you're going to be in New Orleans, look for us. You won't recognize us, but you can look for us. We'll be on the pirate ship causing a shit ton of chaos.
We don't know when. I mean, when will we find out what number float we are?
16. Yeah, no, we're 16th in line this year.
16. Okay.
Yeah, we're actually closer to the front of the parade. Usually we're like way in the back and shit. So they put us closer to the front this year because I don't know. They must like us, maybe. I don't know. It's funny because the thing about Mardi Gras that you have to realize is that, you know, you want to go see a parade, see the beautiful floats, hear the marching bands, see all the different stuff, but you're catching beads, stuffed animals, and all these different things. And that's the gift. That's New Orleans giving you joy, right? It's giving you these gifts. We're happy to do that. People in New Orleans love to share, and that's what it's all about. That spirit of giving. That's what Mardi Gras is. Well, then you have these walking crews and these marching bands. Well, their gift is the music or the entertainment they provide, right, as they go by. That's what it's all about. So someone asked, you know, hey, you guys are on the pirate ship. What are you giving? And I just said, chaos. We give chaos. That's it. That's what the pirate ship's all about. It's just fucking chaos when it goes by. And when you see it, you go, okay, I got you. It sums it up perfectly. It totally sums it up.
It is the rowdiest float. It is raucous. We are agents of chaos.
Literally absolute mayhem. So looking forward to riding this year. I know you're coming in. We're going to have some fun. It's going to be blast. It's going to be blast. So if you've never done Mardi Gras, I'm telling you, look it up. It's cool as shit.
John Hughes. So Josh Tree, great listener of the Rod Ryan Show. I know he's a huge Pass the Gravy guy. Shout out to the Pass the Gravy guys. And then he listens to this podcast, and he's been bugging the shit out of me forever to do a top 5 John Hughes. Every time he says it, I say to myself, we must have already done that. I'm going to have to go look. So finally I did look, and he did. He's like, listen, John Hughes' birthday, anniversary, his birthday's coming up. And I said, okay, you know what? Let me go double check just to make sure. And then sure as shit, we have never done it. I know we've talked about all these movies that we're going to talk about, but yeah, a top 5 John Hughes list. He gets credited as a writer on so many movies. Like I said, he only really directed, 8 films. Only directed 8 films. Started out as writing National Lampoon. He's a funny guy. He sold jokes. Yeah. He's just a funny fucking guy. And of course, he was from outside of Chicago. That's why a lot of this stuff plays out in the Chicago area. And nobody represented kids in the 80s better than John Hughes. And he was older. He was a bit older, not that much, but he was a bit older. And he even said that Molly Ringwald was his muse. He wrote for her. He thought about her. And the one thing that Molly Ringwald said about John Hughes is, she's 16 years old in Breakfast Club. And she would say, what about this? Or this is kind of how I would probably handle this. and he listened to the young people that were on the set of his movie. And, you know, when you're the director, it's like, hey, that's not your job. I tell you what to go, where to be, stand here and say this. John Hughes was not like that. He listened to the young people. And if they wanted to change something or add something or bring him to, hey, this is kind of like, to be honest with you, this is kind of how it's really done right now. He was open to all of that. And I think that's what made him great.
There's a lot of directors, you know, you hear like Tarantino and people, and I've watched different interviews with him and people say, oh, well, what about this? And he goes, I fucking wrote the movie in a specific way. We're not changing a fucking line. You know, he's not very collaborative that way. Now I'm sure he's done things and changed things along the way, but you know, you've got your script written, but if you wrote the script like John Hughes does, you've got room, you know where you're going. Each scene is shot. So, you know, you have a beginning, a middle, and end. You've got to have those points. How you get from the beginning to the middle to the end kind of doesn't matter as long as you finish up with what that scene's job is to do. You know, it's like you watch, what the fuck is that dude's name? The guy who did like 40-Year-Old Virgin, all those movies. The director. Oh, shit. Can't think of his name. Suck at this. 40-Year-Old Virgin. He did all those. Yeah. He's kind of like the John Hughes of the 90s. You know what I mean? Judd Apatow. Judd Apatow. Very good. Christ for that. He is very much a little more collaborative that way. And he also will sit there and as they're doing the scenes, he'll just start shouting out jokes. Try this one. Try this one. Try this one. Try this one. And then when they get to edit, they just go through all those 20 jokes and pick one.
Well, Judd Apatow was a stand-up comedian.
Right. So he's got that going right away.
He knows what it takes. Like the stand-up comedy is a totally different thing. You go up there and you hear about like stand-up comedians going up on stage and workshopping, like working their jokes and trying to figure out what works best. So he's doing that. You know, he brings that to the set and he lets guys say a line 10 times and then he'll just come, well, okay, we'll use the funniest one, but go ahead. The outtakes on his movies are the greatest.
Right. But he's giving you that room to get that line or the timing right or hit this word instead of that. So that's not exactly what you're explaining with John Hughes, but similar.
It's just so he was so in tune to the time that it was a perfect collaboration of him and the 80s. And this dude knew music. Okay. And he's one of the all-time greats. This is something that always comes up on this podcast. You just mentioned Quentin Tarantino, man. Like, okay, who's better than him? Well, Martin Scorsese, probably. Pretty good, yeah. These guys that use music so well, and Linklater, we talked about him already today. There's just a couple of guys that use music better than everybody, and John Hughes was one of the all-time greats. He's a top 5 guy that just picked the right song every single time.
And how many times have you watched a movie? And I pay attention to movies a lot closer than a lot of people probably do. But like when that song hits right, even if it's a hit and it's a song you know, but when it hits that scene right, you almost don't notice the song, if that makes sense. It just, it all marries together perfectly. You know, there was a scene, and I'm going to use my dorky fucking superhero shit. One of the Thor movies, I don't know which fucking one, there's 90 of them, but they used a Led Zeppelin song. And when it came on in the movie, I was like, holy fuck, this is magic. It was just the first stand up on your arms, and it was just perfect. It worked unbelievably well in that scene. You're just like, oh yeah, this is the greatest right here. They used a Guns N' Roses song in a different Thor movie, and it couldn't have fallen more flat and shittier. It just didn't work at all. It just didn't work. And it was a great song, great scene, and it just didn't work.
I can't think of a time that John Hughes went in the wrong direction with his music. And it wasn't always just the psychedelic furs, Pretty in Pink. That's as obvious as it gets for the movie Pretty in Pink. Right. You know, but Simple Minds, Don't You Forget About Me, you mentioned. At the end, we had, I think one of my favorite top 5 lists was best end credit song. And, you know, and John Hughes, the GOAT, you know, that to me was the greatest. But when I say perfection, and you're going to have to go back and listen now, and you can pull it up because there's now clips. It's so awesome that all this stuff is available online. but forever, I never knew. I was just absolutely mesmerized by the music in Ferris Bueller's Day Off when they're at the art gallery. And that's a different scene because they're just all, it's not funny. It's not, they're just taking in these photographs and they're looking, they're at the Chicago Art Gallery, and it's Dream Academy. It's a Smiths cover, which I was never into the Smiths, but it's so beautiful. And I just said, God damn, this guy is so good. He's so awesome. And he's used the Dream Academy for other things. And they were just a band of the time that wasn't even huge, but he knew that they fit what he was trying to get across. Everyone's homework assignment is go look up Ferris Bueller's scene from when they go to the art gallery. The music is hauntingly beautiful.
You know what's another thing I realized pretty quickly that does a great job with the music is if you're watching Ted Lasso, they will do a great job. The music, like that's one of like the show. I love the show. It's funny as shit. It's great. I love everything about it. But when because I'm keyed into the music, obviously, and it's like they're doing such a great job weaving in some of the songs. You're just like, no way are they playing this right now? And I've actually gone and went, oh shit, I got to get that song on my list. I got to get that song on my list. Like that's another, I don't know who's doing it. I don't know if it's a culmination of different people. I know Marcus Mumford did the theme song and he was kind of involved in some things. But that's a great show, a great use of music in that show as well.
Well, let's hear your top 5. Now, he can be a writer. He can be a producer. He can be a director. I think those are all, I mean, if John Hughes had his hands involved, I think
I think it's fair
it
game.
counts.
I think it's fair game. Yeah.
Okay.
And the problem is when I was going through my research, I'm like, damn it, I haven't seen that movie in so long. I don't know if I don't remember if it's good or bad. I'm sure it's good. But my number 5 was Mr. Mom. Mr. Mom still, I actually watched this, I don't know, 2 years ago. I mean, there's some datedness in it, but it's still good. It still works as him as a dad, the Mr. Mom thing, the whole stay-at-home dad, which is interesting because a lot of it fell flat when I was a kid and I watched it for the first time. But man, when you're a dad, some of those jokes hit pretty good.
Michael Keaton was
so great.
He was like a poor man's Bill Murray.
Yeah.
And then he was kind of right there. I mean, Michael Keaton was just so great in that movie.
He's so relaxed.
Awesome.
So relaxed. It's so real. He's not acting. It's very real feeling. That's a great instance of it. Like you watch some movies, you're like, they're acting. You feel it. You know what I mean? But he just felt like he just walked in and was just living that, you know? Mr. Mom.
1983, man. That's an old one.
Yeah, that's good. It's still good. I love that movie. Maybe this is just recency, but Christmas Vacation. I watch it probably 3 times every year during the holidays. And I really watched it start to finish this year for the first time, because usually it's half over and you just come in on a couple scenes. But I noticed how like, and getting to his writing, there's no fat on any scene in that movie. It is so well sculpted. Like it just one scene to the next. It's just, you know, there's certain movies you watch and you're like, they're wandering a little bit, or this is a little gratuitous. You know what I mean? There is no, you talked about honing a joke. You're always trying to cut the fat off the joke, fix it, tighten it up. You watch Christmas Vacation, it's just bam, bam, bam. It is tight. It is
Chevy
so
Chase.
tight.
You can't write that stuff for Chevy Chase. I mean, the whole scene, you know, when he's talking to the girl behind the counter and the panties and, you know, the blouse and, you know, I don't have a log. I mean, there's no way that was written for him, you know, so a lot of that was aided by, you know, the great Chevy Chase, you know, was a force at one point, you know?
Absolutely. But the way you still have to control the chaos, you know, you can't just let that run too wild. But yeah, Christmas Vacation, great, great film. What's interesting is Vacation. I haven't seen Vacation in a few years. Still great because like he encapsulated taking that road trip with your family. Now, obviously, he blows it out of the water, out of proportion. But
are you putting Vacation at 3?
I did. I put Vacation at 3.
Okay, because I was going to ask you. I go, do you think Christmas Vacation is better than Vacation?
Because
clearly you don't, because you have a Christmas Vacation at 4 and Vacation at 3.
No, I mean, I like them both. That's a toss up.
Vacation is better than Christmas Vacation.
Yeah. Well, it's the original one too. Vacation is great because you could relate to it. Because I can remember taking road trips with my family in cars.
Yeah.
And they always fall apart. They always turn to shit a lot of times. Not in that extreme way, but there's always something that goes wrong or something happens. Somebody barfs in the back seat, or there's always something. And they just blew it to the millionth degree. So Vacation, and another example of using kids, in his films, and they were very relatable to that, when you were that age back then. This is where I might get in trouble, dude. This is where I might get in trouble. Number two. This hurts. Breakfast Club. I got Breakfast Club at number 2.
Fucking awesome movie.
I don't have to tell you about the movie. You've seen it. It's great. And I do love the way, again, he was able to break down the dork, the nerd, the jock, the fucking headbanger. You know what I mean? Like, that was so right on. And like, as you're watching the movie, you knew all those guys and girls in the movie. Like, you didn't know, you didn't know the actors, but you knew someone in your school was those guys. Like, I knew all of them. What I mean? Like,
this was at some high school outside of Chicago, and it played
perfectly
everywhere. Everywhere had those same clicks.
Yep. And it was just like, wow, man, I know those guys. I am that guy. I'm scared of that guy. And I hate that guy. Like you as you're watching, going, yeah, that's about right.
Mm-hmm.
It was perfection. And number 1, Ferris Bueller. I got to go Ferris Bueller number 1. Because at first, what's funny is the first couple times I saw it, I was like, I don't know. This guy seems like a dick. I didn't like Ferris Bueller. Like, he just was so smug, and like, I didn't like that about him. But looking back on it now, I've watched it since. It's brilliant. The shit he pulls off. Like, that's what every kid dreamed of trying to pull off to get out of school. And he did it perfectly.
And it's so unbelievably innocent.
Yes.
The things that he does, it's so crazy innocent, and it's silly, and taking over the parade and doing all of that. I mean,
ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. I remember my dad liking that movie. I was like, wow. Like, my dad and me, we like the same movie. It was weird, and that's going back to, that's 86. It took till 86 that me and my dad actually liked the same movie. It was weird.
But it's rebellion, and everyone can relate to going to school, because pretty much everyone's gone to school at some point, and you always wanted to not go on a certain day. And like, it doesn't matter who you were, how old you were, you could relate to the kid getting out of the class,
If you had to use one word for John Hughes, relatable.
Yeah, going back.
That might be the one word. If you look at all his things, his stuff applied, and you felt like he was talking to you. Yes, that's me. Yes, I feel that way. And it's different because I was the age of the people that were in his movies.
Right.
He was making movies for us, and I felt like those movies were made specifically for me.
Oh, Christmas Vacation is a great example. I can't tell you how many times I've tried to pull off these crazy Christmas things, and sure as shit, man, something fucks up. There's always a disaster. Somebody's fighting with somebody. Something happens. Some weird shit happens. So Christmas Vacation, again, you know what? I think we've hit it. Relatable is the word to put on John Hughes. Mr. Mom, we just talked about it. We just said, wow, as dads, you totally get it. He was, at the time I watched Mr. Mom, I didn't get it. There were some funny jokes. Now I totally get it. Yeah, relatable. That's him, dude. Totally. I let my dog in.
All right. So for me, when it came to John Hughes, it was 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 5 movies could have been at number 5. 4 were irreplaceable.
Right. That
had to be on the list. It was easy. I mean, it was just writing them off the top of my head. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it's a 4-way tie. So to respect the exercise, my number 5, love Mr. Mom, love Christmas Vacation.
Yeah.
Weird Science, in at number 5. I love me some Weird Science. Chet the older brother. I mean, it's a silly movie. But it's
relatable. Relatable.
With the bras on their head, and then they get the hot chick, and there was nobody hotter than that chick at the time. Weird Science, 1985. John Hughes was the writer and the director of that movie. That was the tough part. These other ones, this is easy for me. This is very, very easy.
Going back to that movie, again, relatability. Think about it. That's two dopey dudes, two buddies, right? Think of it. That's dumb shit we were doing. You know what I mean? Like that
True.
is so relatable. You got your buddy and you're going to like do some dumb shit and you end up making a supermodel. We never did that, Rod. I got to be honest. We never pulled that one off.
No, we didn't try that. I mean, but can you imagine how many kids did try it? Can you imagine how many nerds tried to like build a woman after that movie came out? I promise you they did.
You can order them now through Amazon for like $150. They're pretty good.
Number 4, 1983, Vacation.
Fucking great. When they strapped the old lady on the roof of the fucking truckster, dude, I'm dying. When he just nonchalantly says, throw Aunt Edna up on she's sitting up there in the rain. God damn it. That isn't brilliant dad stuff.
Dude, I'll top you on that. What could never, ever, ever, ever be done is that getting pulled over by the cop and the fucking dog leash hanging off the bumper of that car.
So great. Though.
I mean,
it's so
you
great.
could not do that right now. I'm a dog. You just had to let your dog in. I'm a dog lover. I love my dog.
Love it.
You have to be able to laugh at that. That's funny as shit. They're like, oh, that little guy probably kept up for a mile or two. I mean, come on.
Legs just gave out.
Yes.
What a great scene, though. Yeah, people be all upset about that. They'd be like, oh, you killed the dog. It's a movie. Okay, let's relax.
Dude, I was always low key, totally hot for Beverly D'Angelo. I always thought she was super hot.
She has her moments, I gotta say. Of Christmas Vacation, there's a few times I'm like, yeah, Rod's right. Because you mentioned that before. I'm like watching Christmas Vacation. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Beverly D'Angelo, I'll tell you what, she's hot, man, or she was hot. All right, so number 4 is Vacation. It was just putting these in order now. 3 is 16 Candles.
Yeah, I never got into that one. Don't quit. There's no reason to quit.
Jake Ryan, Jake's my boy. Jake.
Aren't you guys related?
16 Candles is amazing. And I should have probably brought up that closing credits. It will come to me. The song. It's not the Psychedelic Furs. It's not, I don't know, but 16 Candles.
Good guess.
Long Duck Dong. Dude.
Oh, yes.
No more Yankee My Wanky. You can't. None of that
can't
can
do
happen
that
anymore.
Wow, dude, I can't believe you even said that at this point. Long Duck Dong. What a great name, though, by the way.
16 Candles is an absolute fucking classic. It has to be in a John Hughes top 5.
Hanging out with some duck's dork.
Yeah, you think you got it bad? I'm sleeping underneath some guy named after a duck's dork.
I mean, holy shit. What a great line. Oh my God. You're right. Okay. I may have missed on that one. Yeah, that's a good one too. Shit.
And then just out of order, Ferris Bueller it's a genius movie.
Yeah.
But the greatest high school movie of all time is The Breakfast Club. So that has to be 1. Ferris Bueller has to go 2. 16 Candles. Those 3. I actually struggled a little bit with 4 and 5, but I felt Vacation had to be in there. Bubbling Under was Mr. Mom. I thought was a great pick on your part.
Yeah, love that movie.
Underrated, really good movie. Some Kind of Wonderful.
I haven't seen that one in a while, but I do remember seeing it back in the day. Like I said, I got to go back and watch some of these.
Eric Stoltz.
Yeah.
And then Pretty in Pink. Pretty in Pink. I never thought it was as good as everybody. Like when you just kind of said, like, I'm blown away that you didn't think 16 Candles was absolutely brilliant from start to finish. Pretty in Pink was just, it was okay. It was more her story, and it was kind of a teenage chick flick. It was kind of like Clueless before Clueless, you know?
You know where I think I had the problem with some of these movies like Pretty in Pink and 16 Candles was that, like, I think at the time I was watching these movies, I was into like all the heavier stuff, the metal. You know, I'm full blown Quiet Riot mode. You know what I mean? And these guys weren't that. They were all the psychedelic furs and all, and I didn't like that music. And I think it turned me off from the way they were dressing. I didn't relate to that. I think that's where I shit on it back then. Now, of course, I go back and watch it. I would love it. I think that's where I had the disconnect for some of these movies back then.
This was right too. I mean, here's what's important about these movies. You got to think about the time period that they came out. So Pretty in Pink comes out in 86.
Yeah, that's where I was.
In 1986, we have VCRs at our house. And now you're going and you're renting these movies and you're watching them multiple times. And this was the first generation of movies that I started to watch a lot and over again. And then you would record them and then you would get to watch them. Yep. This is that time period. This is that golden VCR era of, oh my God, I am in control and I can watch things multiple times now. And when you watch these things and then your friends watch them and then you start quoting them, nothing has changed. No. Okay. Same thing with movies all throughout the years. Once your buddies start quoting them, and then it's like, okay, you know what? It's pretty fucking funny. You're right. It's pretty great. Like we just did and quoted all these stupid lines. But the VCR definitely plays into these movies and my love of these movies and watching them a million times.
Yeah, because before that, if you were lucky enough to have like basic cable, you're being just served up fucking like Bronco Billy and, you know, they run the same 5 movies again. And you're like, oh, there it is again. I'm watching it again because it's on cable.
Yeah, was on every day. Eric Singer, the Beastmaster. Every day it was on.
It was like the same 4 shitty movies. You're like, wow, this is great. I love cable. What about Planes, Trains, and Automobiles?
Greatest Thanksgiving movie ever.
Yeah. Well, love it. I haven't seen it in a while, so I couldn't really relate to it. So I didn't want to throw it on my list.
Anything with John Candy is awesome to me. So you know, he meaning John Hughes, him and John Candy did a lot together. Uncle Buck is another one. You know, I mean, Uncle Buck is an awesome movie. It's just a little slower.
Right.
You know, I mean, there's a big difference between, you know, 16 Candles coming out in maybe 87, and then Uncle Buck is 89. You know, things changed in that 2 years, and it was different. It was more adult little kid dynamic, and it wasn't high school kids, you know, even though the girl was a high schooler that was the troublemaker, but John Candy, anything that he did was brilliant. You know, I mean, he absolutely was brilliant in it. Some Kind of Wonderful was my movie that for some reason wasn't as big as 16 Candles and Pretty in Pink, but it's awesome. The soundtrack is awesome. It should have been bigger. And I think it has to do with the casting. I mean, this guy just couldn't put Molly Ringwald in every movie. So he took a chance. He put Eric Stoltz in there. And then he put, I forgot the girl with the short hair. And it's good though. It's really, really good.
Right.
It just didn't get pushed through for some reason.
What about Home Alone didn't get brought up here, which is obviously one of the all-time great classic Christmas movies. You know my love of Macaulay Culkin, obviously. So
you've told a great story about him in The Quarter.
Yeah.
I was getting out of business with that. That's 90s. Yeah. And that was a kid movie. And now, you know, I'm 18 and it just felt, you know, I'm 18, I'm 19, I'm playing in the band and blah, blah, blah. It's like, I didn't see Home Alone. I didn't go to the theater. You know, you said you went to the theater to go see Home Alone.
Saw it hot out of the gate, man. Yeah.
And that's why I thought that was going to be for sure. I thought that for sure was going to be in your top 5.
Nah, I still think it's great. It's not like it's a shit movie. It's a great movie. And it's on during the holidays. It'll be on, but it's not like top 5 material in my world. It just doesn't make the cut. I don't know what it is about it. It's one of those things. I've seen it so many times. I'm kind of sick of it. Although Christmas Vacation, I've seen a billion times. Every year I'll watch that sucker, man. I mean,
I just started watching Home Alone just this year. I don't know that I've ever seen the whole movie all the way through. to this day. I don't know that I have, but watching it with my kid, because we talked about this around Christmas time.
Yeah.
The big brother's very mean to Kevin. It's weird hearing him calling him a jerk face and stupid, and just things that you don't want your 5-year-old saying just yet. But we watched it, and she liked it. She liked the picking on the, because it's slapsticky.
It's easy, yeah.
I mean, it's the fucking Three Stooges. You get hit in the head with a paint can. You get your head, lit on fire. Booby traps. That was funny to my kid. The whole plot, watching the whole thing, not so much. But the booby trap thing, it was funny. So I watched more of that this year than I have in my entire life.
Yeah, when you watch next year again, it'll be even funnier, because of the age of your kid. I know when I watched it with mine, with Henry when he was younger, he fell off the couch laughing at the slapsticky shit. Like he was just dying laughing. I was laughing so hard watching him watch the movie. It was like, wow, this is great. But then, yeah, you get a little older, you're like, okay, this is kind of silly. Yeah, Home Alone didn't make it. I got to go back and watch 16 Candles again, though. I definitely got to go back.
Oh, come on.
Damn it.
And then Jake Ryan, handsome as ever.
Handsome. Very handsome.
Those
Ryans are handsome, I got to tell you.
It's hard not to draw the parallels.
Jesus.
Did you see Vision Quest with Matthew Modine? He's a wrestler. Lunatic
a long time ago.
You want to talk about movie placement with music? Lunatic Fringe is what he's listening to. Ba-dun-dun, ka-dun-dun. And he's getting ready to wrestle Shoot. Well, the reason I bring that up is because Jake Ryan is in that movie. And the guy's name is not Jake Ryan, but that's what everybody knows him as. He may have made one other movie and he pieced out. It's weird. Some of these guys, man, they just did not want a career. They got a little taste of it when they were young. That Willy Wonka kid, he didn't make any more movies.
No, I don't think he did.
Charlie,
You're right.
The original Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the Gene Wilder kid. Mm-hmm. He didn't make any other movies. Like he just didn't want to. As a matter of fact, go back to my number 5, Weird Science. Chet was the older brother. Wyatt and I don't know, not Anthony Michael Hall, the other kid.
Right.
Fucking teaches at like UT.
Oh, really?
Yes, he's a
That's
professor.
Wild. He's
a professor. And he looks the same, but he didn't go on to a big acting career. He looks exactly the same. He's a professor at either UT or A&M.
Trying to make that supermodel still, probably. That's probably what he's doing.
He probably could do it now.
Did you see, and I'm going to screw this up, the guy who was in Indiana Jones who played Short Round? Am I getting that wrong? The little Chinese kid in Indiana Jones just ended up winning a bunch of Golden Globes and other awards because he was in that movie, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Did he win the Oscar?
Did they do those already?
I guess.
I don't think they did the Oscars yet, did they? They announced the nominees.
Okay.
That's coming soon. But he was a little kid in that movie. And was he the same kid I think he was in Goonies too. I believe
he was Gizmo in Goonies.
He was the Chinese kid in Goonies. Well, he disappeared off the face of the earth. Apparently, he was doing other shit. And then here he is all these years later. And his speech, go punch it up, is great. When his Golden Globe acceptance speech, he gets all emotional and shit. And he's telling the story about like, look, you just keep grinding away and breaks come around. And here I am today, all these years later, doing it again.
I saw it.
It's kind of cool to see.
And he thanked Steven Spielberg, who was in the audience for something else.
Right.
And Steven Spielberg is the one that, had something to do with him getting into Indiana Jones.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just a kind of cool, like, wow. Because I'm watching that movie and I'm like, God, that dude looks so fucking familiar. And I couldn't place it. And then all of a sudden it hit me. I'm like, holy shit. That's Short Round.
He may be still really, really tight with one of the Goonies that might be an agent or something now. Because there's some Goonie that he's still tight with.
And they talk about like trying to go and do another script for that. I don't know what they'll do, but that's always been talked about for years to do an update.
Oh, top 5 movies you'd like to see a part 2 that never happened.
Like an update. Like the Goonies would be a great one. Ferris Bueller would be a cool one. We'll just do it right now.
Matthew Broderick looks the same. except for the gray hair. I mean, he filled out a little bit. Who hasn't?
They could totally do it like him getting out of a job or something. I mean, he's a little bit older now. I guess retiring.
I mean, listen, but the Christmas Story with Ralphie this Christmas, dude. I really, really enjoyed it. It was really good.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
It wasn't awesome. I thought it was really, really good, though. I thought it was a good story. They honored the original. So I can think of 5 movies that I'd like to see a part 2.
It's almost where are they now? Like, okay, let's check in and see what these guys are up to these days that they're older and stuff. Yeah. Yeah, it could be done. It's just, again, we talked about this already, that getting a movie to the screen is so fucking hard. But you got all these names now. Think about all those Goonie dudes. Those guys have all gone on to, or a lot of them have gone on to big movies. I mean, the one kid made Rudy. The other guy was in the Avengers. Yeah, Brolin, fucking, Thanos. I mean, these guys all went on to big things the star power to pull it off would happen. You'd get the box office draw, but you just got to none of those guys want to make a shit movie though. That's the problem. They've gone on to bigger things.
Right.
That's the rub.
I think Sean Astin's got time.
He might have a few minutes, but he's been doing other shit along the way too, though. So
yeah, he was in he was in Stranger Things.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So I mean, they've all been doing shit. So yeah, the Goonies that'd be a good one. That would be cool. All right. I like your idea there. Talk to somebody, will you? Get that done. Rod, any final thoughts? I'm done tonight. I've had enough. Let's wrap this
program director. Maybe you could get that done.
I'll make some calls. We'll get it done.
No real final thoughts other than we are going to start announcing some things here in Houston. Another golf tournament is coming up. So we're going to do a golf tournament for Texas Adaptive Aquatics. That's always fun. This is the first time this is being mentioned. We are going to have a Buzz Fest.
Oh, we are definitely blowing Joe Rogan out of the water here. We got this.
And I do think that I'm going to be announcing Buzz Fest next week. So,
nice, dude,
come in for something, Dick. Come to a golf tournament.
I didn't get the dates.
Come to Buzz. Well, I can't give you a date because I don't have a date for golf. And I do have a date for golf, but I can't announce it yet. And then I have a date for Buzz Fest, but I can't announce that yet. Come in for something.
I'll book my flights. Apparently we'll get it done.
Yeah, whatever. I got some programming to do. I'm a big program director.
Dude,
I'll have to make it another time. I got all these record guys giving me all these hot takes on all these inside information over here.
Look, I'm going to break it down real easy so everyone gets this, okay? You got 4 hours to worry about. I got 24.
Oh, okay.
Holy shit.
All right. Any final thoughts out of you?
Yeah. Hey, garbage guys, maybe start a little later in the morning. 5 a.m. is a little bit early. It's a little early in the hood. I mean, and they're not like dainty and quiet about it. And I started getting mad this morning. They're banging the fuck out of everything down the street. They're trying to make as much noise as possible at 5 a.m.
Picking up your garbage at 5 in the morning?
5 a.m., dude. I mean, and it's like a parade. They're trying to be as loud as they fucking can. And I'm sitting in bed. I'm mad. I'm up. I'm up. Once I wake up, I'm up. Let's go. But then I started thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? Why are you mad? Those motherfuckers are out there working. They're earning. They're doing God's work.
Well,
keeping the city clean. They could be quiet about it. But I was just like, you know what? I got mad that I got mad. You know what I mean? Like, ain't their fault. That's the hours. That's the hours. You got to do your thing. So I thought, you know what? We've got all these dumb holidays, National Pizza Day, National, don't fall down the stairs day, all these holidays, Secretary's Day. And I'm like, we should have a National Garbage Man Day. Well, we do. Okay. Maybe this date hopefully won't conflict with one of your giant events here, but June 17th is Global Garbage Man Day, dedicated to the efforts of the men and women who keep our communities clean. June 17th. So just trying to get that on everybody's calendar that maybe have a little something out there for the garbage men.
They're still calling it Garbage Man Day, not Garbage Person Day.
I'm not getting caught up in the semantics. You know what I'm talking about here. You know what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
You know what we got going on here. If somebody's mad, write a letter. We'll read it.
All right,
the
guys.
podcast.
Well, thank you for checking this out. Appreciate scoping. If you're watching this on YouTube, great. If you didn't know, you could have watched this whole thing. If you're just wrapping up listening to it, you could have watched this whole thing on our YouTube channel. But I do appreciate you if you're just listening. Please subscribe to where they ask you to subscribe to these things so that you get notifications as soon as they go live. And I think that's it. At Play Pants Pod on all the socials. And that's it.
Yeah. Throw in your ideas for top 5 lists because, 6 months later, we will get to them.
Thank you, Josh Tree. And thank you to Jordan Welch and the Machine for always having that list on standby that I can go back to see if I missed anything. All right, that's it. We got to go. Bye-bye.
Let's go. It's time. Put on play pants.
Find us wherever you listen to podcasts. See us on our YouTube channel and follow our social media pages at Play Pants Pod.